You ever wonder why some older men don't chase, and yet women chase them? They walk into a room calm, silent, controlled, and somehow they pull attention like gravity. They're not trying, they're not showing off, but every younger woman seems magnetized, drawn in, curious, intrigued. Now, if you're like most men in their 42nd or 52nd, you've probably noticed that the dating game has changed. You try to be nice, to show interest, to make her feel special. But instead of leaning closer, she pulls away, ignores your messages, says she's not ready, or worse, keeps you around while chasing someone else. It's frustrating, confusing, sometimes humiliating. But here's the truth. Women don't respond to effort. They respond to energy. And the right kind of energy, controlled, grounded, self-possessed, is something older men can master better than anyone. In this video, we're diving into 10 powerful flirting tricks older men use to attract younger women. Not cheesy pickup lines, not games, but subtle, psychological moves backed by Stoic philosophy that flip the dynamic and make you the prize. Each one builds your presence, increases your value, and keeps her thinking about you long after you've left the room. If you've ever felt invisible, overlooked, or just tired of chasing, this might be the shift you've needed. Let's get into it. Number 1. Own the room without saying a word. There's a certain kind of man who doesn't need to speak to be noticed. He enters a room and the atmosphere shifts. Not because he's loud, not because he's flashy, but because he's still, controlled, self-contained. That's presence, and it's one of the most magnetic traits an older man can master. Take Mark, 54, a former Navy officer who now works in logistics consulting. He recently attended a networking event in Austin. He wasn't there to impress anyone. He dressed sharp but simple, moved slowly, and spent more time listening than talking. Across the room was Allison, 31, a brand strategist for a major tech company. Later that night, she told her friend, "I couldn't stop wondering about him. He barely said anything, but I noticed every time he looked my way." Why? Because Mark didn't enter that room looking to prove anything. He didn't try to win attention, and that's exactly why he got it. Most men, especially those who feel time slipping, tend to do the opposite. They talk too much, they overshare, they chase the room instead of commanding it. But here's the truth. The less you seek approval, the more power you radiate. Women aren't looking for noise. They're drawn to men who create a sense of certainty, a man who feels like a solid foundation in a chaotic world. That's what Presence Island, and it's deeply attractive on a psychological level. From a Stoic perspective, this is about self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, or think, or do, only what you do." When you walk into a room carrying that energy, calm, collected, focused only on yourself, you instantly stand out. So how do you build that presence? Start with your posture. Walk with intent, not speed. Keep your shoulders open, spine upright, and arms loose. Don't rush, don't fidget. You're not reacting, you're observing. Then, control your eye contact. Most men either avoid it or overdo it. The key is to make brief, confident connections. Hold it for a second longer than expected, then move on. That slight delay makes people wonder what you're thinking, and that curiosity is power. And finally, don't underestimate silence. In a world addicted to noise, your quiet confidence becomes a mystery. Most people fill silence because they're uncomfortable. You, on the other hand, use it. You let her wonder what you're holding back. That space, that pause, becomes magnetic. Let's return to Mark for a moment. He didn't tell Allison about his accomplishments. He didn't make jokes or chase conversation. He just listened with intent. He asked 2 meaningful questions, and when he looked at her, it wasn't with need, it was with clarity. She wasn't used to that. And that's exactly why she couldn't forget him. That's the kind of presence you build over time, not by trying harder, but by shedding everything unnecessary. You don't talk to fill the room. You simply exist in it with purpose. That's what makes you unforgettable. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment if this spoke to something deep in you. Say it with certainty. I own presence. And here's what most men don't expect. Once you master this, everything else starts aligning. People treat you differently. Women respond differently. And your energy starts pulling attention before you ever say a word. But we're only getting started. Let's keep going. Number 2. Stay mysterious. Stay irresistible. Let's be honest, mystery drives desire. What you don't reveal is often more powerful than what you do. And for older men, this is one of your greatest assets. You've seen more. You've felt more. You've lived more. But the moment you try to explain it all, you lose the edge. You don't need to spill your story to be interesting. In fact, the less you say, the more she imagines. And imagination, especially in women, is everything. It's what keeps them engaged. Wondering, leaning in just a little closer. The mistake most men make: over-disclosure, telling too much too soon, laying out their emotional scars, career history, past relationships, hoping to connect. But it doesn't work that way. True attraction isn't built on facts, it's built on curiosity. Here's the key: reveal slowly, selectively, and with intention. Don't answer every question immediately. Don't fill every silence with details. Give just enough to open a door, then let her walk through it on her own. Think of it like a great film. The ones that stick with you aren't the ones that explain every plot point. They leave threads hanging, unanswered questions, symbolism that makes you think. That's what keeps your presence alive in her mind when you're not around. And this isn't about manipulation. It's about control. Control of your energy, your story, and how you show up. A man who controls what he reveals is a man who controls the frame. He doesn't get pulled into over-explaining himself. He doesn't chase being understood. He lets people earn his truth. From a Stoic lens, this ties directly to the discipline of restraint. Epictetus wrote, "Silence is safer than speech." And in the world of dating and connection, that's not just philosophy, that's strategy. Because what's rare gets attention. And in today's world, emotional restraint is rare. Everyone's oversharing, everyone's performing. But you stay grounded, you stay private. You let the mystery build naturally. What does this look like in practice? It's the subtle pause before answering a personal question. It's choosing not to post every part of your life online. It's letting her wonder what your life is like when she's not around. It's giving her a look that says more than words ever could. And when she texts, "So what are you up to this weekend?" you don't need to list your plans. You might just say, "Taking some time to reset." That's it. Short, strong, closed loop. She'll think about it more than a paragraph ever could. Mystery creates emotional tension. And tension, when paired with calm, confident energy, becomes attraction. That kind of subtle unpredictability is far more powerful than charm, because charm can be copied. Mystery can't. The truth is, mystery isn't about playing hard to get. It's about being hard to fully grasp. Not confusing, not cold, just real enough to touch, and distant enough to dream about. And here's the beautiful part: mystery doesn't fade with age. It sharpens. If you learn to hold your cards close, to reveal your layers one at a time, you become the story she wants to keep reading. So try this. Next time you feel the urge to impress, pause. Hold something back. Let her reach for the next layer instead of handing it to her. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and make it real. I protect mystery. And remember, the more she has to wonder, the deeper she'll fall. And what's coming next will test just how much control you really have. Let's move forward. Number 3. Let her chase the compliment. Here's something most men never figure out. Giving too much validation too soon kills attraction, especially with younger women. They're used to constant praise on social media, from guys in their DMs, even from strangers. So, when an older man comes along and starts pouring out compliments like candy, he doesn't seem bold or confident. He just seems typical. Now flip the script. When you're a man of value, your attention, your approval means something. It's rare, it's earned, and that's exactly why it's powerful. Let me give you a real-world example. Jason, 47, is a real estate investor in Denver, divorced, calm, focused. He recently met Tiffany, 29, at a rooftop mixer downtown. She's used to guys fawning over her. She's attractive, ambitious, and knows how to carry herself. But Jason didn't take the bait. While other men rushed to compliment her dress or her eyes, Jason asked her a simple question: what do you value more, freedom or connection? That stopped her cold. He didn't comment on her looks. He went deeper, right away, and never once told her she was beautiful. Over the course of the evening, she kept circling back to him. She asked about his work, his mindset, his past. She wanted his attention, his validation, and he never handed it over cheaply. By the end of the night, she asked, "You never told me what you think of me." Jason smiled and said, "I like that you're still asking." That's the frame. When a compliment is easy to get, it has no weight. But when it's delayed, when it feels like it must be earned, it creates pull, emotional tension. She leans in, trying to unlock what you're thinking. From a Stoic standpoint, this is about controlling your emotional impulses. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. And nothing is more wasteful than handing your attention to someone who hasn't earned it." You don't need to be cold. You don't need to withhold praise forever, but you do need to give it like a man who values himself. That means saving your compliments for moments when they actually mean something, when they reflect truth, not strategy. So how do you apply this? First, don't lead with praise. Lead with presence. Let her feel your energy before she hears your approval. Second, when you do give a compliment, make it uncommon. Instead of, "You're so pretty," say something like, "You carry yourself like someone who's been through something and came out stronger." That kind of comment hits different. It tells her you see past the surface, and that's rare. Third, enjoy the silence between validation. Let her sit in the space where she's not sure what you think of her. Let her work for the compliment, not because you're playing games, but because your attention is valuable. Jason didn't neg Tiffany. He didn't play tricks. He simply valued his words enough not to throw them around. And that's something younger women aren't used to. They're used to attention on demand. But when you give them the challenge of earning it and pair that with grounded confidence, they start to feel drawn to you in a way they can't quite explain. So now it's your turn. Leave a comment below if this hit you where it matters. I give wisely. And when you stop chasing approval and start controlling the flow of it, you'll unlock a different kind of influence, one that's quiet, steady, and unforgettable. Wait until you see what happens when you add pressure without saying a word. Let's keep moving. Number 4. Speak slow, touch minds. Speed kills connection. And I'm not talking about fast cars, I'm talking about fast talkers. Most men speak too quickly. They rush their words, fill silences with noise, and never let their presence settle. It comes from nerves, from the need to impress, from the fear of losing attention. But ironically, all that speed does the exact opposite. It makes you forgettable. Women don't remember the guy who talked fast and said everything. They remember the man who spoke slow and made every word count. Speaking slowly isn't just about pacing, it's about energy control. It shows composure, self-respect, and confidence. And that's why it's so powerful, especially for older men. When you slow your speech, you signal that you're not chasing attention. You're commanding it. You don't fear silence. You don't fear pause. You trust your message enough to let it breathe. And in that space between your words, that's where the impact lands. Think about how leaders speak. They don't rush, they don't ramble. Every sentence has weight, and because of that, people listen differently. They lean in, they focus, they remember. You don't need to say more to impress. You need to say less, with more intention. There's a Stoic principle that fits here perfectly. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." The modern version, talk less, say it better, and let silence do some of the heavy lifting. When you speak slowly, a few key things happen. First, your words gain gravity. She doesn't just hear what you say, she feels it. The tone, the timing, the weight behind it. It sticks. Second, you give her space to react, to imagine, to engage emotionally. You're not blasting through a script, you're inviting her into a rhythm. Third, you show mastery of your state. Men who talk too fast often reveal their anxiety. But a man who slows down, he's not in a rush to be understood. He's comfortable being misunderstood, even if just for a moment. That calmness is magnetic. And let's be clear, this isn't about being slow in thought. It's about being deliberate in delivery. You might say fewer words in a conversation, but those words carry. You're not flooding her senses, you're giving her a single, clean signal to lock onto. And in a world of noise, that clarity is rare. Picture this. You're sitting across from her, and she asks a question. Instead of blurting an answer, you pause. You look her in the eye. You let the silence stretch just a second, longer than normal. Then you answer slowly, precisely. She won't just hear your answer. She'll remember how it felt when you said it. And that feeling is what lingers. The goal isn't to impress her with knowledge, it's to move her with presence. The slower you speak, the more space your words have to echo inside her mind. That's where real influence happens. So next time you're in a conversation, catch yourself. Are you rushing? Are you speaking to fill space? Or are you letting your words land like footsteps, slow, steady, impossible to ignore? Let her hear the man behind the voice, not just the message, but the manner of it. Now, if this part of you has been asleep, the part that leads with calm instead of speed, it's time to bring it back. Drop a comment if this resonates with who you're becoming. I speak deliberately, because the moment you stop rushing, she starts listening, and what you do next will only deepen your hold. Number 5. Leave gaps that make her lean in. Sometimes, the most powerful parts of a conversation are the things you don't say. The unanswered question, the unfinished story, the detail you leave hanging in the air just long enough to make her wonder. That's not avoidance, that's strategic mystery, that's control. Let me give you a real example. Thomas, 52, is a financial advisor in Phoenix. Calm demeanor, dry humor, totally unshakable. At a charity dinner last month, he was introduced to Rachel, 33, a fashion buyer with a sharp mind and even sharper instincts. They got to talking about travel. Thomas mentioned he'd spent 3 months overseas recently. Naturally, she asked where. He smiled, leaned back and said, "Somewhere that changed how I look at time. I'll tell you about it later." Then he smoothly pivoted the topic. No flashy details, no story dump, just a line that cracked the door and left it open. Rachel couldn't let it go. For the rest of the evening, she kept circling back. Where had he gone? Why was it meaningful? What happened there? See, it wasn't the story that hooked her, it was the gap. When you leave gaps, you invite her imagination to fill them. And once her mind starts creating possibilities, she becomes emotionally invested. That's when the real magic starts. Because now, she's not just reacting, she's reaching. Most guys don't get this. They think impressing a woman means delivering everything up front, showing your full hand, proving yourself. But that just turns you into information, and information alone doesn't seduce. Leaving space shows confidence. It says, I don't need to rush. If you're curious, you'll come closer. And if she doesn't, you're still good. You're not performing for approval, you're letting her uncover you at her pace. This plays beautifully into Stoic thinking. Marcus Aurelius said, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If her thoughts are filled with your mystery, your silence, your unfinished sentences, your calm restraint, then you've already left a mark far deeper than any compliment could. This strategy works in small moments. When she asks about your weekend, you say, unexpected, I'll explain sometime. When she compliments your watch, you reply, it has a story. One day. And when she leans in too fast, you pause and say, I like how this is unfolding. Each line is a soft hook, not because it manipulates, but because it holds back just enough to make her want more. Thomas never had to brag to Rachel. He didn't give her a play-by-play of his trip or his life story. He gave her room to imagine. And that imagination created emotional pull. You become irresistible when she can't figure you out in one sitting. When she feels there's more beneath the surface and she wants to discover it herself. This is about tension, healthy, slow-building, seductive tension, and it's something older men are uniquely good at when they stop trying to sell themselves and start mastering subtle space. So here's the shift. Start leaving gaps. Let her lean in. Let her chase a piece of the story. That's how you turn a casual conversation into something she replays later over and over. And if this clicks with you, say it in the comments. I leave mystery. What you hold back matters more than what you give away. And what comes next will show you how silence, the right kind, can do the talking for you. Let's move forward. Number 6. Don't validate, let her earn it. Most guys give it away too fast. I'm not talking about time or money. I'm talking about validation, the emotional currency women are flooded with every day. Likes, hearts, texts, comments, approval, non-stop. It's so easy to get that when you withhold it, it becomes valuable again. You see, when a man validates a woman too soon, too often, or without reason, he teaches her one thing. His attention is cheap, and anything that's cheap gets taken for granted. Now contrast that with the man who pauses, who holds his praise, who doesn't rush to compliment or reassure. That man, he makes her work, and when she does earn it, it hits harder. She remembers it. She wants more. That's the dynamic shift. You're not there to impress her. You're there to observe her, to filter, to see if she meets your standards. And that doesn't make you arrogant, it makes you intentional. From a Stoic perspective, this is about emotional discipline. Seneca wrote, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power." You don't just give reactions away, you stay in control of your emotions, your validation, your value. And by doing that, you become the one she wants to earn approval from. Validation, when delayed and deliberate, becomes addictive. It builds tension. It keeps her thinking, wondering. Think about it. What feels better, getting a compliment from someone who gives them to everyone, or getting it from someone who almost never speaks unless it means something? Exactly. And here's the part most men miss: not validating doesn't mean being cold. It means being precise. You're not a wall. You're a mirror. You reflect only what's real, not what's expected, not what's begged for. When she dresses up, you don't immediately say, "Wow, you look amazing." You pause, you observe. Maybe you simply say, "That color works on you." Calm, controlled, intentional. It makes her wonder what else you're thinking, and that curiosity is where the attraction grows. When she tests you emotionally, you don't fold. You stay grounded. You don't over-explain yourself or try to smooth every rough edge. That silence, that stillness, that strength. And that's what builds polarity. Because when a woman feels like she's trying to earn something, when your approval becomes the thing she's chasing, the entire game flips. You're no longer reacting to her. She's now responding to you. This doesn't happen by accident. It takes awareness, control, patience, but it's what separates a man who blends in from a man who becomes unforgettable. So here's the shift. Stop giving validation on demand. Let it become something rare, something she senses but can't predict. That uncertainty, that's the spark. If this speaks to where you are right now, let it show. I validate with purpose. You've just taken control of the frame, but what happens when she feels that shift and starts chasing your attention? Stay sharp. What's next will show you how to guide it without ever pushing. Number 7. Play with fire. Don't get burned. Flirting is fire. Done right, it warms things up. Done wrong, it burns everything down, including you. And most older men either play it too safe or too sloppy. But when you understand how to hold tension without overstepping, that's when flirting becomes power. Let's look at a real case. Derek, 50, owns a boutique gym in Seattle. Fit, reserved, and not one to chase anyone. During a charity fundraiser for local small businesses, he met Lena, 34, a wellness coach. Conversation flowed easily until she jokingly said, "Bet you flirt with every woman here." Derek didn't deny it. He looked her dead in the eye, smirked and said, "Only the ones who can handle it." Then he took a sip of his drink and changed the subject. Now here's the key. It was playful, but tight, smooth, but not thirsty. That's fire control. He didn't over-engage. He didn't fumble into complimenting her or laughing nervously. He left a line in the air, then backed off. That move did two things. First, it created polarity, the spark of masculine and feminine energy colliding. Second, it held the frame, letting her feel the tension, but making it clear he's not chasing. This is the kind of flirting most men forget how to do as they get older. They start walking on eggshells, trying not to offend, or they go the other way, dropping clumsy compliments and pretending to be 25 again. But flirting, done well, is a test of control. It's not about what you say, it's how lightly you say it, how clean your energy is when you drop it, how fast you pull back after letting it land. The real skill is holding tension without needing release. That's what creates attraction. You're showing interest, but you're not collapsing into it. You're playing, but always from a position of groundedness. Stoic philosophy backs this perfectly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Flirting is an outside event. Her reaction, her laugh, her return fire, all of it is external. But your control, your poise, that's internal. That's the game. Derek didn't flirt to get something. He flirted to reveal something: confidence, composure, presence. And that's why Lena chased him down later that evening. Here's what you need to remember. Flirting is not validation. It's not about approval. It's about awareness, letting her know you see her without needing anything from her. It's about teasing the boundary, not crossing it. When you flirt with calm energy, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability, when paired with control, is magnetic. It sparks curiosity. It creates emotional stakes. And most importantly, it positions you as a man who doesn't seek comfort. He creates charge. So, next time you're in conversation and there's a spark, lean in just slightly, drop the line, let it sit, then shift the subject. That space you leave behind, that's what pulls her back in. If you've ever felt that moment, the spark without the slip, I want you to own it. I flirt with control. This kind of power can't be faked. And once you master it, she'll feel it before you even speak. What happens when she tries to turn the fire up on you? That's where the game gets interesting. Let's keep going. Number 8. Let the silence turn her on. Here's the truth. Silence isn't the absence of communication. It's a form of communication most men have no idea how to use. They think talking fills the space, that more words equal more connection. But the opposite is true. In the right moment, Silence does what words can't. It creates tension. It sharpens energy. It makes everything feel more alive. That's why confident silence is so rare and so powerful, especially when it comes from an older man who knows how to sit with himself. Silence used well doesn't create distance. It creates curiosity. It makes her lean in, physically and mentally. It makes her wonder what you're thinking. It makes her more alert, more aware, more engaged. But here's the catch. Silence only works when you're not afraid of it. That's the problem. Most men panic in silence. They fill the air with nervous jokes, filler talk, or oversharing. Anything to avoid that stillness. But when you don't fear the silence, when you actually own it, you stand out instantly. You create a vacuum that pulls her attention toward you. And no, this isn't about playing some alpha role. It's about being at peace in the moment, not rushing to entertain, not needing to keep the energy up, just being still and letting that stillness speak for you. From a Stoic lens, this is clarity in action. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Translated to this context, be content to let a moment breathe. Be okay with her not knowing what's coming next. That space, that mystery is part of your power. Think of it like music. The pause between notes is what makes the melody interesting. If there's no pause, there's no rhythm, no impact. Same with presence, same with flirtation. Imagine this. She asks a flirty question. Instead of jumping to answer, you pause. You hold eye contact. You give her a subtle smile. You let the tension rise. That moment right there is hotter than anything you could have said. You're not playing games. You're communicating through energy, not words. And when you do it right, silence becomes the most seductive thing in the room. The trick is not to rush out of it. Let her feel it. Let her sit in it. You're not filling space. You're letting her come toward you. And when she does speak, you don't break the silence too fast. You take your time. You respond slowly, like you're in control of every second. Because you are. That's what makes you unforgettable. Not loud charm, not smooth lines, but calm stillness, strategic restraint, emotional gravity. It's not the noise you make, it's the space you hold. And she'll notice, not just in how you speak, but in how she feels around you. Most men are chasing reactions. You're letting tension build naturally, and that's why she'll think about you long after the conversation ends. If you feel this is how you want to show up from now on, say it below. I master silence. Because silence isn't empty, not when it comes from a man who knows himself. And when you know how to use it, you're already saying more than most ever will. Let's go deeper. Number 9. Show depth she's never touched before. Most women are used to surface-level guys. They talk about work, weather, or weekend plans, all safe, all scripted. And even when they flirt, it's predictable. Same compliments, same lines, same energy. But you're not here to entertain. You're here to impact. And the most unforgettable men do that by showing emotional depth, not with drama, not with oversharing, but with grounded truth. Let me show you how that looks in real life. Daniel, 55, is a creative director in Austin. He's sharp, successful, and carries himself like a man who's seen a few storms and survived them. He met Emily, 31, at a mutual friend's birthday dinner. Their first few minutes of conversation were casual. Then she asked, "What's something you've unlearned in the last 10 years?" Daniel paused, looked her in the eye, then said, "That I have to win every battle. Now I care more about peace than proving I'm right." That moment flipped the dynamic. He didn't try to impress her. He didn't turn it into a sob story. He just dropped something real, and she leaned in hard. Not because he was vulnerable, but because he was anchored. That's the key. Depth doesn't mean emotional dumping. It means having a clear sense of who you are, what you've lived through, and what it all taught you. You're not showing her your wounds, you're showing her your wisdom. And here's why it matters. Most women, especially younger ones, are starving for substance. They get attention all day, but it's shallow. What they don't get is presence, depth, masculine stillness with meaning behind it. From a Stoic lens, this is ultimate control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Depth isn't performance, it's embodiment. It's in the way you speak about time, about loss, about what you've learned from pain instead of what pain you've endured. When you share what matters calmly, briefly, and without needing a reaction, you create space for a different kind of attraction. She stops looking at your status and starts sensing your soul. That doesn't mean getting heavy, it just means getting real. Talk about what drives you, what bores you, what you've walked away from, what kind of man you're still becoming. When you speak from that place, she stops scrolling through your words and starts feeling them. You move from interesting to unforgettable. And the beauty? You don't have to say much. Daniel didn't lecture Emily. He didn't dominate the conversation. He simply said something true, and then he let it sit. That one sentence showed her more depth than 10 stories ever could, and that's what she remembered. So here's what you do. Drop the performance. Drop the clever lines. Bring the truth. Not loud, not dramatic, just grounded, thoughtful, masculine clarity, delivered in silence, wrapped in stillness. That's what makes her curious. That's what makes her crave more. Because you're not like every other man she's met. You're not showing depth because it's a strategy. You're showing it because you've earned it. And if this part of you is ready to come forward, speak it below. I lead with depth. Because when she touches that depth she didn't expect, she doesn't forget it. But there's one last thing that seals all of this together. Let's finish strong. Number 10. Be the man her mind can't escape. Let's be real. The goal was never to just get her attention. That's easy. Any guy with a good shirt and a halfway decent joke can get a few minutes of attention. But to live in her mind, to be the name that echoes in her head at midnight, the thought that hits her during silence, the image she rewinds again and again that takes something else. And it's not looks, it's not money, it's not charm, it's psychological presence. And here's the twist most men never understand. It's not about being constantly available, constantly texting, constantly showing up. It's about what you leave behind when you're not there. The way she felt when you spoke without needing her approval. The stillness you carried in a noisy room. The way you didn't try to impress and yet she couldn't look away. That's what sticks. It's not intensity, it's imprint. See, attraction fades when it's overfed, when she can figure you out too fast. When you say everything, give everything, do everything. That's comfort, not magnetism. But when you show control, when you carry silence like a weapon, when you flirt with distance and never lose frame, you become unforgettable. You live in the afterglow of interaction, not the noise of it. Here's how this works, and it's simple. The brain remembers what it can't fully process. If she can label you, define you, box you up in 10 minutes, you're done. But if you make her feel, without giving her full access, she replays that moment over and over. She tries to make sense of it. Why did you look at her that way? Why didn't you text back right away? What did you really mean when you said that line and then went quiet? This is not manipulation. This is gravity. The gravity of a man who doesn't need to be understood, only felt. Now let's talk Stoicism. Most guys think being stoic means shutting down emotionally. Not true. Real Stoicism means having complete mastery of your emotional reactions, and from that stillness, moving with precision, calm, clarity, intention. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." You want her soul, her inner world, to carry your color, not because you pushed, but because you stood still, and everything in her moved. You didn't chase, you didn't over-explain, you didn't force a connection. You just let her feel who you are, raw, calm, present, and then stepped back. And the silence you left behind? That's where she meets herself. That's where she meets you, again. Not on her phone, not in her feed, but in the back of her mind, when everything else goes quiet. This is where the real game begins. Not in the conversation, but in the echo. To be that man, the one her mind can't shake, is not about performance. It's about presence. It's about mystery with weight. And it's about showing up so fully that even your absence feels like pressure. You don't chase women. You build gravity. And when you do that right, she'll never really leave, because her thoughts already belong to you. If you've made it this far, then you already know this wasn't just about flirting. This was about reclaiming presence, about becoming the man who doesn't chase, doesn't impress, doesn't perform. He attracts because he owns his space, his silence, his depth. That kind of man doesn't just walk into a room. He stays in someone's head long after he's gone. And if that's the man you're becoming, you belong here. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's next, because we're not stopping at attraction. We're building something stronger than that. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.